gentlemen, we got 2 already done for today on this Monday, but we've got 4 more to go. And Epic Series number 3 lies just before us. Tetra, I can see you're already in the groove with those new funky tracks for HGC China. But tell us more about your feelings when talking about BTG versus RPG, which is going to be our next best of 2.
RPG, the very first season we cast, was my favorite team there. They were entertaining, they were unique, they had a bit of killer instinct. They weren't the best team, but they certainly were fun to watch. And then the seasons went on, and they lost that killer instinct, and then they got worse and worse and worse as time went on.
Until they couldn't get worse no more.
Yeah, they always held it together. They always kept going. They always managed to stay in the league. But the situation was, they had their biggest slump was at the start of last season, where they just looked really not solid. They had a slight resurgence, however, at the return of their ranged assassin player from university, Locktar, who did give them a little bit of hope. Locktar also substituted for BTG when it came to the Eastern Clash, and they have decided to make that change permanent.
On the right-hand side? No way.
Maybe?
Maybe
I don't remember pictures. Hold up.
Well, I normally remember face and pictures pretty well. So, might be a different one, though. But for a moment, to me, it looked like Zhen Zhao.
But what you can see here is RPG have changed some players around, because after the Eastern Clash, BTG have decided to make the change permanent and have brought on the Calamity God himself, Locktar. He has come into the team, into the fold, in replacement of 3. This does have a mean that one of their players is going to have to be a little bit more creative in terms of their roles, and that will be the ranged assassin player for BTG in the form of Dancing, who did actually have to play an offlaner or 2 when it came to the Eastern Clash, and that will probably have to continue.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so already a little bit of a surprise coming in here, because as we said, Locktar now a permanent member for Beyond the Game, a team that has looked so darn good over the last few months and weeks. Chicken, by the way, we can see here as the coach in the back, so that's pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And it might very well be that RPG has surprised us all, caught us all off guard with potentially, I'm not going to say this here for now, but already some people in chat already confirmed me, bringing Zhen Zhao, former ranged assassin carry from SPT, back in the mix.
Yeah, so he's DSL, is that it?
Yeah.
Wow, that is pretty big if true, as the kids would say these days. I will attempt to find something that might confirm this. I'm not entirely sure where to look, I'm going to be honest.
I'm actually just going to ask production here. I'm going to ask our good friend Henry. Maybe he can help us out here as well. Pretty amazing, though, one way or the other.
Like, who are all the name changes? In fact, I'm going to do that.
Super solid. Super solid. Anyways, guys, this is going to be a grudge match. Locktar, who now plays for BTG, used to play under the banner of RPG last face. He turned coat and became a traitor, but we can't really blame him, because as we said, he already played for other teams at international tournaments, because he is that good as a single player. So maybe now he can finally establish himself amongst the top 2, top 3 teams with his boys from BTG now.
Maybe he can indeed. But like you said, we do have for RPG several new players, with Chicken, as you said, being the coach in this case. The players MJ and C staying around. We have Pa, DSL, Free Show, and
it's definitely Zhen Zhao now. Like, I see him on the webcam, and he's got a haircut, but I'm pretty sure it's him.
Well, it's nice to see him back. For joining RPG, a risky choice. Let's see how they're able to do it. Once again, they've changed all the players round, so let's see how it works out as they start off with a Yorel, Sergeant Hammer Deckard Kane comp. That is a brave start.
Yeah, and the reason for Zhen Zhao, now known as DSL, for RPG, you know, the reason why he wasn't really competing in professional Heroes of the Storm was a wrist injury that he had to suffer from half a year ago. So he wasn't able to participate and assist his teammates of SPT for 2 seasons straight. To see him back now, fully recovered, we hope, is pretty exciting, because he used to be part of the Chinese pro meta scene when they were actually on par with some of the Korean teams, right? E-Star, SBT, back in their former glory in 2016, 2015. He used to be there already.
Nah, he did. So he did go away, and as such was unable to rejoin SBT because they're very happy with Lucky. He fits in well with the team, and they're quite comfortable with that. It would be a bit of not a great move to do the same. It's the same situation with Meriday and KSV,
right.
Gen G, MVP, all those E sounds that this team has. And now we're going to see here Muradin and Li Ming. So that is definitely going to be a Loktar Li Ming. And a Dancing Rainer, most likely.
And we already saw in the first game of the day today what Li Ming's can do against Sergeant Hammer. You know, Loktar probably being one of the most lethal Li Ming players in the league that we have in China. Whether we're going to see an adjusted build from him with the Seeker missiles remains to be seen. But even without those tools, I think Li Ming, if she lands her combos from the right angles on a lonely Sergeant Hammer, could be very deadly indeed. But Tetra, I'm also going to bring this up though. I think the draft coming in from RPG looks almost invincible. Like, they have so many good heroes on all the different roles.
They have a lot of disruption, knockbacks from 3 different sources, stuns from several more, and a great amount of long-range poke. This could be really, really strong, but if we look at the other side, though, we still need to see Druid support, and that's going to be a very important closer here. We're going to stick with Malfurion. It's fine, I guess. It's definitely going to empower LLK. Actually, it's going to be Loktar on the Dahaka. Okay, very interesting.
Ooh, did Loktar actually undergo a role swap there as well?
He did play the offlaner for the team every now and again during the Eastern Clash, but he definitely performed better when he was on Assassin, as should be expected.
I mean, it also depends on the draft they want to tailor, right? For certain maps, I think Loktar might even be able to get back on that range flex role. And LLK, for example, has also played bruisers in the past. Sometimes he will go on heroes like Alarak even, which could potentially open up the spot for another ranged. So either way, super excited to see Loktar, the man we can see on your screens right now, in action on that Dahaka. Also, I do want to say there's a couple of counters available to that Sergeant Hammer. Li Ming, for example. Rainer also not too shabby in most of those games. But really, if you look at RPG and what they brought to the table, it's just so hard to kill them. The Mayhem and Disengage potential from Junkrat. Then we see the self-healing from Mirel. I'm just super excited.
So apparently it has been confirmed that DSL is Jing Zhao, and now we will wait to see if I get lucky and he'll give us all the name changes. We'll find out. But either way, it's nice to see him back. So there's 100% confirmed as we are preparing to head into our first map of our 3rd series of the day. So, like you said, the zoning potential for the Sergeant Hammer comp is just absurd. They have Johanna to stand in front of it. They have healers to keep it alive.
Junkrat.
Then we look at the other side. Dahaka could be the key factor here in terms of global if they're able to get the right angle.
That is basically the name of the game, right? Can they get a good grip on their opponents? Can they surprise them from a hidden angle? We're going to find out here, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sky Temple, and reintroduce those teams for you once again. On the left-hand side, we've got RPG with MJ, Free Show, C, Pa, and DSL, formerly known as Zhen Zhao.
And on the other side, we see BTG with 619, Dancing, Druid, LLK, and their newest addition, Loktar.
All right, let's see if Loktar's name Victory will actually carry them to victory as well, or if they will have death. We're going to find out in a bit. Judging from all those picks and, you know, all the hype, it's still safe to say, Tetra, that Beyond the Game enters this game as the clear favorites, right?
They should do. They should very much do indeed, as we are going to see a beginnings of a potential full Q build for Li Ming with a Force Armor here to protect against that Junkrat. And we are seeing our first ace of the hole in the day. And that is a weird sentence to say.
Yes. Normally, we're used to seeing this talent quite a bit. It did get nerfed, don't get me wrong, guys, in the past, but still, the additional damage you get from slow targets, from stun targets, is just too good to be passed on normally. The only exception to the rule in the past that we've seen multiple times is on BOE, when sometimes you need that additional immortal racing potential, right? But to see it 3 times in a row today already on all sorts of maps is pretty unusual and really shows how China sometimes minds their own business. But for now, you know, we're good to the standard up to this point. DSL, by the way, he doesn't care about that little dwarf poking on his sides. he's just going to continue sieging up on those structures.
He's just standing there. MJ finally has to back up for some reason. He's going to help Junkrat with that camp, so Hammer has to move finally. It is going to be the Maelstrom rounds, by the way, coming in for that Sergeant Hammer, so the extra AoE on the auto attacks. This is purely a push-based build.
Right. This is a very good observation because normally we're used to seeing the ambush as we saw it earlier already, so the extra burst damage on a single target later on can really sometimes make a difference in those team fights.
Got my colors mixed up. It is still the same ability as I said, but it is actually called Advanced Artillery, not Maelstrom rounds. Maelstrom rounds the activated damage boost.
All good. So Advanced Artillery basically means that the further away the target is, the more damage Sergeant Hammer will deal, right? That's that talent.
No, it's the one where basically it increases the splash damage. And increases the splash radius. Yes, it's the one that's better for pushing.
There we go. All right, so let's see what DSL can do with all that damage. We see it online right here, right now in the top lane. Actually, a very heavy push. Also, additional protection granted by that mercenary, by the wizard. So abilities will deal less damage now, as long as that mercenary stands. But already beyond the game is also trying to circle around, rotate around, and try to stop this push from happening. C takes a little bit of damage. The knockback is huge, though, from DSL. Beautifully done.
Dahaka is double soaking while all of this is going on. It does take a little bit of damage from Par, but it's not too bad here as Loktar will rotate back down to bot as he doesn't want to miss any experience here. He didn't go for the extra movement speed while doing this, but it certainly means he's going to get his regen online as soon as possible. Li Ming sticks with dominance at level 4, but this doesn't rule out a Seeker.
It could still happen at level 7. We've seen weirder things in China, so let's see what's going to go down here after all. Both teams pretty much fighting on even an equal footing here. None of the teams really pulling ahead in structural damage, but that could very well change very soon. I like how RPG is prioritizing their temples because already a few moments ago they were able to deal a lot of damage to most of those towers, so already that fort is taking some severe damage. So Beyond the Game is apparently happy, you know, and content to give this up. Look at DSL, he's just not giving
he's just standing next
anything
to
about it. Look at that.
Root lands, gets a little bit of extra damage, stuns dropped, but he doesn't mind. He's just happy to deal with the damage. He's burned through it. That will be a fort taken.
I mean, the only thing that happens here right now is 619 gets additional charges on, or stacks on his Stormbolt, right? That's literally the only thing they get on this. But other than that, that fort even is getting completely taken out. RPG showing off strong here.
With Hover Siege online and level 7 only just being hit for BTG, they're actually a little bit behind in experience due to the Sergeant Hammer push. Let's see what they're going to be able to make of this. See, now, interesting factor here is they actually showed the Dahaka, like, how quick everyone else completes the quest. They usually only do that after the quest is complete. I didn't see the alert, but if he did complete it in half the time that anyone else has in HGC China. Like, literally in 3 minutes compared to the usual 6.
That's just nuts. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if he has done it. Like I said, I didn't see the alert myself, but that's usually when they show it. So I'm going to keep an eye out to see if that pops up.
All right. In the meantime, we see Raynor, by the way. Apparently, he's not really happy with the amount of CC they have. So he went for his own version of additional CC at level 7. He went for the Unstable Compound. So every trigger of his Give Him Some Pepper is going to slow the target by 10% as well. And it doesn't matter how much they're slowed for, the bonus damage from Ace in the Hole is always going to apply. So that's really useful if you lack crowd control in general. Keep in mind, roots from Malfurion, they do not count, only stuns and slows.
But it's still going to be pretty effective. Dancing pings in consistent damage here. Did not go for that Seeker. Went for Calamity as Free Show comes in. Looks for some free kills. Gets the pull-in with Johanna. And Malfurion, Malfurion and Raider both barely able to survive.
That was so close. It was a mighty hammer, actually, by Irel. Really good stuff coming in for her. But unfortunately, the damage, the follow-up damage from DSL just wasn't really there. Otherwise, that could have been a very sexy double kill. As it is, though, for now, RPG taking or maintaining a small but significant lead, because it will allow them to get level 10 just ever so slightly earlier. And I really want to see what we're going to see there at level 10. Are we going to see the Napalm, which kind of makes sense for this pokey playstyle, or are we going to see the good old BFG?
We will find out shortly. For now, just poking over the wall. DSL just burns through that pretty quickly as level 10 is now hit. There's Riptire, so BFG could seriously add to the burst.
Napalm.
We're going to see Napalm. Continuation of that push style. and already being used to try and zone away and kill off these Siege Giants.
And for the first time, we also get to see Stay a While and Listen. Up to this point, all the support players of the Chinese teams had, prioritized the lore NATO. Beyond the game, already posturing up here super heavily on that temple. 2 members of RPG still dealing with that mercenary camp, with a bruiser camp, so I'm not even sure if RPG is going to be able to hold this. I think they're just faking aggression here. They're probably trying to fake that they have more people here than the enemies currently know of. DSL, though, needs to be careful. Can't take all those Li Ming combos.
LOK, though, can't take too many more of these hammer auto attacks as we see the rest of RPG rotating in. Junkrat's not here. Dahaka can rotate in. Remember, 619 is completely alone. He's been abandoned by his team as they pull back to the fountain. He is on his own here. Dahaka needs to maybe burrow in just to give him the escape route. And he does, coming in from behind. As 619 turns around, they begin to run in for the wraparound. Hyperion is dropped. There is the Sailor and Listen coming around to the back line, and it gets sniped. Nicely done.
Gets sniped indeed. Free Shadows trying to survive on that Uriel, even using the Ardent Defender here. They only need 1 kill. 619 uses the Muradin's avatar in time, though.
He leaps backwards, isolation onto the Uriel, takes her down, leaving Orb just short of a DSL. And that is going to be BTG taking the team fight and a couple of those shots as well. Shots being traded for both teams, but in the meantime, that Bruiser camp killed off top lane.
Yeah, so they were buying time. They did lose the team fight, as you said, Tetra, but that Bruiser camp made a little bit up for it. It's going to definitely take some damage onto the second defense line here. C needs to be careful. Now, we don't have a replay of this team fight, it seems, but I do want to highlight the fact that Irel used the Ardent Defender a little bit too early for my taste. She was full HP. Like, she was probably trying to use it preemptively, but if she had waited a little bit longer, maybe her teammates could have actually rallied around her. Maybe she could have baited even more cooldowns onto her, which would have helped allies like Johanna as well to keep themselves safe and sound. So maybe a little bit of a misplay there, but as we said, it's not a major defeat. It was a defeat nonetheless, and beyond the game up to this point, looking pretty darn good.
BTG looking to pile on more pressure, get themselves that 13 and weaken that fort. Hammer, though, still continuing to be a fantastic zoning tool. Forcing them back once again.
Yeah, forcing them back for now. DSL has actually been doing pretty well in terms of delivering the raw damages. It was only the fact that beyond the game, you know, they were able to find that Irel opening, that Irel kill too early. If they had maybe stalled out that fight for MJ to keep up the healing, that would have been amazing for sure. As it is, though, for that next temple phase, all heroic abilities will be back on cooldown, off cooldown, sorry.
DSL eats a fair amount of damage. Quick heals, though. Regens himself to a nice, comfortable position, at least for the moment.
Okay, which temple is going to be the priority here? In generally speaking, if there are several temples available, and one of them is bottom, though, it's usually the bottom temple that should always be, you know, at least be kept in check, because if you totally ignore it, if you completely focus on top lane, for example, if you're RPG now, then the boss might also be a priority that the enemy team might be able to get here.
Tranquility being dropped very early here, but 619 is going to begin to move in onto the unsiege Sergeant Hammer, so those siege tactics. Stay one, listen, is used. Napalm actually just wakes up 2 of them straight away.
Yeah, and once again, we see how RPG is avoiding the team fight willingly. They actually send Irel all the way to the top. Junkrat is going to soak in the middle in the meantime. Only now makes his way over to his allies. And it looks like they really want to destroy some of the defense structures in the top lane of BTG, right? Once again, with that Bruiser camp, they focus on dealing damage to the towers. Irel actually could have maybe taken care of that temple in the meantime. Hopefully she will get some value out of it instead.
She finally moves on, begins to capture that for her team, so extra shots going into mid lane. Dahaka's already cleaned up the Bruiser camp, though, and now he and his team could maybe try and make the play onto top to try and finish them off as they begin to move up.
Begin to move up here. C is holding the line, trying to keep Muradin busy and close to himself, rather than letting the dwarf get to DSL in the back. In the meantime, we see a battle of the Bruisers in the top lane. Free show against Loktar. Misses the tongue, unfortunately. Dahaka, that is. And I think also Irel notices that reinforcements are going to be there much more quickly for the red team than for herself. So she tries to get out of harm's way. Unfortunately, the Blessed Shield missed by an inch there. Otherwise, that could have been a dead Rainer.
But the Rainer survives. That is the important bit, at least for the moment, because he's able to move back in and regens pretty quickly. The objective finished. Boss currently becomes the most important objectives, and as such you begin to see everyone hanging around in this middle/bottom area, just in case the other team decides to go for it for the moment, while Tahaka, the only global in the game, begins to take control up there. More stacks acquired by 619.
All right, as you said, the battle around the boss is going to be a very, very interesting one. It's going to take place sooner or later. Eventually. 16 is here, though, for Beyond the Game. They have some new talents to spend on right now. Li Ming, by the way, is that... no, she didn't go Fireflies, right? That is still the good old...
that's Mirror Ball.
Mirror Ball, there we go.
Well, 9, not in the best position here, but he's able to wrap around past the boss stuns. Yrel still able to take the Bruiser camp, despite Dahaka putting on some pressure as the boss is leashed.
Yeah, Mirror Ball, of course, now providing extra damage, or even more damage against Sergeant Hammer when she stands still in place, so... Always got to be on the move here. Speaking of staying on the move, C is actually going to fall there. So much combined damage. Yrel was nowhere to be found. They were completely separated, and unfortunately for them, Beyond the Game was completely grouped up, so even the tankiest of tanks can withstand all that damage. And without Johanna, I think Beyond the Game, they smell the opportunity to maybe get away with a cheek boss.
All in. We're going to see, like I said, that cheeky boss getting sniped away. Nice and quickly here. And that's good news for BTG. They're going to be able to put some pressure on there, but they need to deal with this push in top lane. Junkrat and Yrel, both very good escape. Less good news for Deckard Cain. He needs to be able to escape from this engage if that happens. They actually grab the Siege Giant Cap on the way past. Risky move, but if they can defend top, then that will be crazy value.
Okay, so RPG, they cannot overstay their welcome. Johanna is still not there. Yrel is currently the only frontliner. DSL needs to get out of there ASAP.
Now Yrel is in trouble. Oh, the defender is dropped. Riptire gives him the escape chance as Johanna comes in. They've defended top. That's the important bit here, but the Mercenary is actually still pushing that in as the fight continues. Rude onto the Muradin, who's dropping low. Nice stun on Malfurion. A silence is dropped there. Druid is down the one in. Danger is pulled in, but a knockback actually saves everyone as Yrel unable to get the good hammer she wanted there.
Yeah, Muradin was so close to dying. He was actually getting interrupted on his dwarf toss as well from Deckard Cain's heroic ability, so that was pretty neat. However, as you said, the knockback kind of saving him, but by the same token, I think RPG just wanted to disengage for good. They had wasted so many resources and cooldowns onto the Muradin without getting the kill, so I think they realized that they were running out of steam, and at some point you just need to pull the trigger and retreat, right? For now, if they let those double temples go through with that boss already dealing terrible, terrible damage onto the bottom lane, they might take so much damage to not be able to recover from.
They might indeed, so they need to be careful. 619 does not land that Storm Bolt. They're dancing around.
They might be able to get top keep. RPG, they need to hold this top lane.
Shots are coming. They need to move on somehow. Lockdown moves on to Free Show, which we've just found out is actually FS from Team Nut originally.
Yeah.
He begins to hold the point for the moment. Top keep is already down. What else can they make out of this? Yrel goes in. Quick knockback onto 619. Zone away so they can try and guarantee the last of these shots. Good damage onto DSL. More potions, please.
Tetra, that was actually a pretty smart play by RPG. With all that consistent pressure that they inflicted onto the top lane over and over again, although being behind in experience, although losing most of the team fights, they are the ones to walk away with the first keep of the game. That was amazing.
We see the Mercenaries being taken once again by BTG, and despite BTG being ahead in experience and winning most of these team fights, RPG, their zoning control, as you already said, as you already just mentioned, is actually netting them more structures, and it doesn't matter how many levels ahead your opponents are, if their core dies first, you still win.
Very true. So let's see if they can actually manage this lead that they have structurally without, losing too many team fights right now because of a potential level disadvantage or talent disadvantage at level 20, because the Storm Talons are much more close for Beyond the Game. And they have a couple of heroes like Muradin, for example, or Raynor, which at level 20 have a pretty significant power spike, right? The rewind on 619 might actually be Sergeant Hammer's doom. Let's see if they can actually get a keep themselves here in the middle. They're posturing up pretty aggressively. Also have mercenary pressure in the top lane. And here it goes, the Hyperion for additional structure damage.
The Hyperion burning down that keep, but Hammer has also arrived. Can the Hyperion finish it off on its own? Yeah, Yamato Cannon finishes the job.
Well done, Matt Horner. That was exactly what they wanted him to do. That's a pretty cool move. You know, there's not really a whole lot you can do. Speaking of things you can do, though, Irel uses the Ardent Defender, manages to stay alive for now, but that was a big repulsion.
Nicely done by Lee Mig, hitting level 20 and guaranteeing them that kill. As level 19 has only just been hit for RPG, as BTG looking to try and make a play. LOK, so much damage, but he's able to pull back.
All right, Tetra beyond the game. They have that damage unlock if they manage to aim it all well onto the same target. Those repulsions as well, in my opinion, were just super good. Splitting, isolating people. Johanna actually ended up falling super quickly as well. And it is once again, Johanna, a target that you're not really used to see a lot, you know, die. But, I mean,
it is a full blind build, Johanna, which is not correct. The most usual build.
I mean, it's fully designed to deal with a Jimmy, right? But then you give up a lot of tankiness, you give up a lot of self-sustain. Kind of fights them right now.
It's going to be rough for them to try and make that into a significant comeback. Reina, by the way, gone for weak spot acquired. That extra 25% armor reduction for 2 seconds when he hits someone with his give him some pepper.
Which is interesting, right? You have a full blind build Johanna, and you still go for auto attack related talents. But I agree. Like, weak spot acquired is definitely going to get some values sooner or later. So I don't really hate the decision to go for that one. The thing is, it might look bad for RPG right now, right? They pretty much only have 50% keep left in the bottom. That's the only structure they have left, with the exception of the core as well there. However, they have an opening. They have an opening at the top lane. So all they need to do right now is win a team fight some way, somehow. Maybe even get a full team wipe. But even if they kill like 2 or 3, that could be an open core. So that is all they need to achieve. They don't need to win the temples necessarily, as long as they win a team fight right now.
And they have the option. They have the level 20s as well. Siege Tactics is used. Hammer is fine. You can see that advanced lava strike coming in. That increased napalm range and impact damage. Immediately bursting through a bit of 619 and zoning him away. The bottomless flask for the Decade Cane. And indestructible. Johanna does not want to have that repulsion move happen again. Cool orbs though.
Oh yeah, Muradin going in again.
Right from behind.
Everything is used.
Riptide onto Druid, dropping him a little bit low. Muradin forced to back up. Loktar with the contagion from behind, though. Loktar looking to make the play here, but they can't burst through Yrel and Johanna. And they're forced to back up once again. BTG unable to get through all of this Decade Cane healing.
I was going to say, there's a lot of potions lying on the ground, and they just kept walking onto it. RPG, although they took a little bit of a blow in the early stages of that team fight, the healing is just too good for Beyond the Game to pierce through. However, they have time on their side. Minions and catapults are definitely going to walk into that top lane and middle lane eventually against RPG, so they would have to retreat. 2 temples. This is bad news. If both temples maintain under control of Beyond the Game, they lose the game. RPG needs to make something happen right here, right now.
Loktar. That move, that wraparound was incredible, but he has 11 seconds until that isolation again, where he can try to make that contagion move. Boss scouted by Par. Mine on the boss, just in case. But with temples up, that's the last keep of RPG gone. Now that's 3 lanes worth of catapults. But RPG, move on to the point. They're just going to have to eat the shots from bottom temple. They will survive. They're going to get dropped low, but they will survive. Riptide already killed off by Dancing. But now Dancing is getting chased down, in trouble. They can't get it though. The knockback from Raider prevented the jump.
All right, so they don't get the kill, and look at the core of RPG is dropping down to 60, dropping down to 50. They still have some shots left. I think Loktar might be able to win the game, but Yrel is contesting. It's a 1 versus 1 in the bottom and a 4 versus 4 in the middle.
Yep, Yrel has to contest that, and they have to hold this. If they just lost 1 temple, they might have been able to survive, but 2 temples is too much. They have to do this. Contagion from the side! Down goes the Junkrat here as they chase onto MJ. MJ's gone, and C can't do anything alone. Final shots will be taken from mid, and the reset for good measure. And this time, Loktar with that contagion, guaranteeing his team game number 1.
Absolutely amazing. You could actually see how Loktar on that Dehaka was waiting until his heroic ability was ready again, right? He didn't burrow before, although that probably could have given them an edge in that team fight already as well. However, he was waiting for that contagion. And as you said, Tetra, 2 contagions in a row were the deciding factor in those team fights. So Locktar, the new addition coming from RPG, proves to be the match winner.
That he does, and that's gotta feel good. Game number 1 going over to BTG.